joining me. It's Amanda here on the sofa with Becky. No Charlotte this weekend. Charlotte, we're missing you. Sorry you're not here. But we've got our very first special me time with Ruby, and it's very special because we've got a guest. So we've got Becky here, and Becky is the author of Lockdown Gate, which is the most scandalous, brilliant book you're ever going to read. So yes, you're going to have to grab your copy, but she's here to tell us all about it, so it's really, really exciting, so I can't wait for that. Now normally I would chat to Charlotte about what she's been doing, but to be honest, Becky, I'm not really interested in what you've been doing. I'm more interested in Lockdown Gate. So we're probably going to go straight in and talk about this. So I have my very own copy, signed by Becky. I do love a book that's signed. Maybe we should have a book signing in here. That would be interesting.
Yeah, that would be good.
Something like that,
What
maybe. So I asked Becky to join us because she's actually a Ruby Lala customer. So she's been before, and actually you're wearing Ruby Lala today, on this hot, beautiful June day, the 1st of June. This won't come out until Saturday, but obviously we're recording today, the 1st of June. Yeah, so one of our valued customers, and as we do at Ruby Lala, we get chatting to our customers, and we got chatting to you, and you were telling me about this book, so we just had to have you on the sofa to tell us a bit more about it. So tell me, how did it come about?
Well, it all started through lockdown, obviously, where
First lockdown, second
first lockdown,
right, okay.
where we couldn't see anybody, couldn't go anywhere, and my mum lives in the Cotswolds. So she was really missing everybody. My sister's in Bracknell, and she was on her own. So we started sort of amusing each other via Zoom. We'd never done this, so we set my mum up on the iPad, and
she managed it.
Yeah, she managed it.
How old is she, can I ask?
My mum's in her 70s.
Wow, that's good to know.
So so she's learned how to use all of this. So we basically kept the weeks going by organising something.
Right.
So it all started on a Friday night where we would just open a bottle of fizz on Zoom, obviously, and have a laugh, really.
So you'd have your bottle each?
We'd have our bottle each, and we'd sit there at
that was like at the end of the Zoom then, after
Well, it got very interesting because it was themed every week. So we've done Easter bonnet parade, so we all had to make an Easter bonnet. We've gone out, so we had to dress up in something sparkly, which I did wear a Ruby Lala dress for that.
Not that lovely Christmas one.
The Christmas black one.
Yeah.
In fact, in the picture in the book, I'm wearing that Ruby Lala dress. So there you go. Yeah, so we went out. We went on holiday, so we had to pack a suitcase. And we printed a ticket off, and we had to guess where each of us was going by what we had in our suitcase. I remember that actually because it was boiling hot weather like today, and I was going to New York. But I always go to New York at Christmas when it's freezing. So I was in a thick coat, fur all around the hood, and Ugg boots, so we had holidays. And then on a Wednesday, suddenly books arrived in the post, and Amanda, my sister, had. She's Amanda.
I remember talking to her for hours, but she placed an order with us once.
She did.
Lockdown,
yeah. Anyway, she sent us books, and she said we're going to do a book club. So we started a book club on a Wednesday, where we were reading quite naughty books actually, but a series of books that we were just thoroughly enjoying, and then we'd discuss it all, and it's very tempting not to read on past the 4 chapters that we'd set. And then on a Monday we were also doing exercises, so we were really keeping each other going.
The family?
This was just my mum, one of my sisters, we've got another sister, myself, and then my sister's son's girlfriend. So there was somebody in their 30s, somebody in their 40s, somebody in their 50s, and then my mum in her 70s.
So where do you come?
I was in the 40s then, but I've hit the 50 now.
Right, okay.
I've hit the 50, but I was only 49.
Right, okay.
So yeah, it's quite interesting chatting about things when there's all different ages.
Yeah. And different perspectives, I guess, maybe.
Absolutely. On everything.
Right.
But it's amazing how things like talking about fashion comes round and round and round constantly. Because my mum's seen it all, and then it's come back, and then it's gone again and come back again. So yeah, so anyway, so we read the books, and then on the Friday we'd done so many different activities on the Friday, and we were starting to run out of ideas because obviously it was a long time. And I suddenly thought, do you know what? We're going to write a book. So
inspired by the book club on Wednesday.
By the book club. So it was my turn to decide, because we'd take it in turns to decide what next week was about. And I think the week before we'd just done a pub crawl via Zoom, so that was interesting as well.
Anybody done a pub crawl by Zoom? I don't think I've even done a pub crawl, let alone by Zoom.
Yeah, via Zoom we did a pub crawl. We had quiz games and all sorts in it. And I said, right, well, great idea, we're going to write a book. And they all sort of looked on the screen and thought, oh, here we go, what is she on now? And
so it was your idea?
Yeah, I'm afraid so. I said, but I don't want to just write a book. I said, I want to actually hold a book at the end of it. So we've got to do this, we've got to get on this.
Okay. Because you can actually get it on Kindle, can't you?
You can.
Well, I know. You see, this is very
Yes,
confusing.
well.
I'm not good with technology. I thought it was Kindle. Thought I'd download it on my Kindle, but it's an e-book.
It's an e-book, so you can download it to your phone, an iPad, a tablet. You don't actually have to have a Kindle.
Right, okay. This is
So-
why I got a bit confused.
Yeah, so I mean,
So
you
I've
can
actually-
go onto a Kindle
But
as
I
well.
do like a book. I'm a
Yeah.
bit of an old-fashioned girl. I do like to have
Yeah.
something in my hand.
The problem was, we've done all of this on our own with no help whatsoever, and most people that bring out books have got editing companies and people backing them. We had nobody backing us. We just did it ourselves, even down to designing the cover.
Yeah, how did that? Sorry, we're digressing slightly, but so many
This
questions. How did that
was
come
my
about?
dad. There's really family input here.
Yeah.
My dad came up with that.
Oh, brilliant.
So, yeah, so we've done it all ourselves, and then of course we had to go down the route and get them printed, and we probably didn't need to go hardback, but they're silk thread pages, and they cost a fortune.
Get your money's worth.
They were like £35 each book, because we weren't having thousands printed.
Right.
The idea was that we just all had a copy each.
Okay.
Because
Something
it was
fixed
never
the
about pushing it, it was just about having our book,
Okay.
holding it with our names on, and actually
Right.
thinking I wrote that for
Right.
lockdown.
Okay.
So yeah, if we'd had lots printed, it would have been cheaper.
Right. Okay.
So we just initially, I think we got about 15 copies initially, and that worked out at £35 a book.
right.
So anyway, so we then decided, because people have read it, friends and that have read it, and they was, oh my god, it's amazing, you've got to get this out. We decided to go down the route of the ebook.
Right. Okay.
So at the moment it's available on Amazon as an ebook, which, as I say, you can
And
buy
how
on a
much is
tablet. £6.99.
Okay. Okay.
So go on your tablet or your iPad or your phone, and then to see what happens, see if we could really get any interest in it, to then get paperbacks done and things like that.
Okay. So what happened when you suggested to them all about doing the book? And
I think they
how
thought
did
I'd had
like
too
it?
much fizz, because the
Fizz
Friday
Friday,
was
yeah.
known as Fizzy Friday.
Right. Okay.
And even I've got two grown-up girls that still live at home, and they used to think, oh, what is she doing today? You know, as I'm
Right,
dressed in my
okay.
winter coat with my suitcase, and
Right. Okay.
and we did going back to school one day as well, and so I had bunches with plaits and a tie on
Oh.
and a jumper,
And you all just were quite happy doing that? Because I
Yeah.
think, oh no, I've got a friend that loves fancy dress, and whenever she does a party, it's always fancy dress, and I always moan about it.
see, I've never done fancy
Because I
dress.
can't be bothered to do it, and
Mm.
it's like, you know, when you're working in a shop or running a business, to have to try and think of that just. But she's right, because she says to me, you moan about it every time, but you love it, and I do, and you know, it just is lovely. So
I think lockdown was just, it's been so long for everybody, hasn't it? And it was just a way of
good mental
just
health,
having some fun.
mental health.
We couldn't go out,
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
see my mum, couldn't go and have a drink with my mum and
Yeah.
my sisters, so it was, let's do it how we can.
So how did you manage to write the book then, if you were all in
So
different
it
places?
started with me sitting in the garden, because when I decided that we were going to do this, I thought, well, I've got to throw some things at them. So I had a list of character names, just sat there writing names down with my daughters.
That's the
and-
exciting bit, isn't it? Fun doing the
That was a bit strange, yeah. It was just because we didn't know how these characters were going to look or what personalities they were going to have, nothing. So we then got together on the Friday, I gave everybody the names, and we then all went away and basically wrote down what we thought that character was going to be like.
Okay.
And that was really interesting because it was amazing when we discussed it the week after how we all had the same ideas on the characters.
That's interesting, isn't it?
So there was Ali in the book. Well, that could have been a boy or a girl. Well, we all came out with a girl. Which was...
So you had the name and then you just went away and...
Yeah, and then we thought everything was discussed week on week, and we then sort of put all the ideas together and maybe took something from somebody else's idea on that character and put it in with somebody else's and built up our characters. But we then also went online and tried to match the character to a celebrity. So I'm using Ali again here, one of the characters in the book. In my head, in my head, she looked like Catherine Zeta-Jones. Okay. So we all came up with a character.
So Ali suddenly, though it's fiction, suddenly it becomes alive and almost like a real person.
Yeah, it feels like I know them.
So you know, I was going to say you know them, you know what they look like, and actually they're just on the page.
And they're just in here. Very strange.
Yeah.
But, and we've all come from backgrounds where we're not writers, any of us. So this was totally new. We just liked to read. And then we obviously would discuss what it was going to be about, and then we would go away and write the bits to the first chapters.
So did you have a whole story? Or
no, it just kept adding each week, and somebody would say something, and then somebody else, well, it would be good if this could happen, and even with the writing, we'd go away and write a section, all of us, and then come back and read it, and it was amazing how it was like we were all writing it together at home in one place, whereas we were writing it in different towns.
And you would only touch base weekly?
Every week we would touch base on a Wednesday then,
and that space.
and discuss what we'd got, and then we'd go away and write until the following Friday and have it loaded on by the Wednesday for us to read, to then discuss on the Friday.
Okay.
So a lot of work went into it.
So how did you split it? By chapter? By character?
No, it was never put into chapters at first. It was just, we just wrote a story and all of that. And it possibly should have been, but once again, we didn't know what we were doing. So we probably made it really hard.
I never knew what I was doing, and I'm learning on the job.
Yeah.
And maybe, I know, I won't jump to the gun just yet, but I know that there's a sequel coming out. But maybe you will learn. Like you said, you learned about printing of it, and that maybe you didn't need to do such elaborate printing. So I think sometimes you just have to go for something.
I think so.
Hold your breath, go for it, and learn on the job, so to speak. And it sounds like that's what you've done. I mean, no previous experience of writing.
No.
Didn't get an award at school.
No. We're all totally different. My mum's a chef. I'm a music teacher. We're just all totally come from different.
And what does Amanda do?
She owns a pub. She runs a pub.
Publican.
So she's a publican.
And who was the fourth person?
Her son's girlfriend.
And what was her name?
Rachel.
Rachel. What does Rachel
and
do?
she works for British Airways.
Right.
So
sounds a bit like Friends, isn't it? What does Rachel do? What does so do? Right. Okay.
Yeah. So it was. That side was. We really didn't know what we were doing.
Right. Brilliant.
But it did come together, and then the story started to turn a page each time, and then obviously the hardest bit was the editing.
And who did that? Is that something that you?
Well, Amanda was going to do that, but then suddenly life was getting back to some normality, and she obviously runs a pub, so it was getting hard work, and of course, me being me, I'd set this deadline. I'd said, I want a book in our hands by the end of the year.
Right, okay.
And I'm a Virgo, and I'm a bit. if I want to do something, I'm going to do it. And I didn't
like my husband. He's a Sagittarian.
I didn't.
Whereas me, it's like, I've been writing a book for about 10 years. So
I had it in my head. I thought by the end of the year we've got to hold this book. That was our goal. It wasn't about anything else. It was just being proud of it.
So it's just something that starts out personal for you, but actually it is a really good book to read.
But it's turned out we've had some really good reviews on it, and we've even started reaching out to America now. So because it's on Amazon, they can download it in America. And and we've had a couple of people from the series of books we were reading on Facebook. They had a Facebook page where people would chat about the books, and a couple of those people have actually read this book now.
Okay.
So
God.
it's started.
How does that
to sort of-
feel?
Strange. Yeah.
What, unbelievable? Strange?
Yeah, I mean, really proud. I'm really proud. I mean, I've driven my family up the wall with it. It's all they've heard about for the last year is the book, and Friends, and even when we finally had it, and I put a picture of it on Facebook, I said, I know you're not all going to be excited about this, but I'm very excited about
it's
this.
something to be proud of. So it's done you a lot of good.
So in the end, my husband edited it. I went through and did it all
Okay.
because it just was proving so difficult to get it. I mean, every computer was different, and you would do all the work and then it would change. The formats would change again, and it was getting really confusing. So he's very clever with things like that. So he then obviously had to edit it, although he says he's not read it.
Oh, okay.
So
I don't quite know how that works. If you can edit, I'm looking all right there.
he's not admitting to reading
So
it.
tell us a little bit about the story, without obviously telling us what happens in the end or anything like that.
It's set in a place a bit like Farnham, where Ruby Lala is, or we were thinking like Wentworth.
Which is Ascot something.
Ascot, Sunningham. And the place is called Lockdown Gate. So that is the actual name of the town, called Lockdown Gate. And the idea was that we were going to have all different sort of characters that were all sort of linked together somehow.
Okay.
So we have a nice wine bar in there called the Wine Vault.
Right.
Which always I said earlier to you, it reminds me of this building actually.
Yeah.
So in our heads it's an old bank, still got the vaults in there and everything. Big chandeliers, high ceilings, lovely brickwork, so
We haven't got the chandeliers, but we've got the high ceilings. And this building used to be interesting. You said about the bank, because the fireplace up here, which I'm pointing but nobody can see, but there is a beautiful fireplace up here. There's a beautiful fireplace downstairs, which is originally from about 1650 when the building was actually built. But this fireplace apparently was round in a Lloyd's Bank round in Castle Street, and it was brought round by a gentleman called Harold Faulkner, who had a lot to do with Farnham and the buildings within Farnham about 100 years ago. So we know it's at least 100 years, if not more. It's got to be a lot more, but it was brought to this building, I have no idea why, about 100 years ago. But yes, it was originally in a bank, going back to your bank.
Yeah.
But this was an old bailiff's office, apparently.
Yeah, which is this is what we've sort of had in our heads for the places in the book.
Okay. So somehow a very modern story, but lots of sort of historical stuff coming in as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sort of intrigued by the old buildings and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's the wine bar then.
So there's a wine bar, there's a prestige car garage, there's obviously beautiful houses that are built on a golf course, and they've got money, the characters.
Okay. All of the characters?
No, some of them have had no money at all.
I'm asking questions, I've read it, but I'm asking questions.
Some of them have had no money at all, but they are, as I say, all linked.
Right, okay.
In here, we've got one set of characters who seems to hold all the money for Lockdown Gate and seems to have his fingers in all the pies.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
So and when you read it, you'll understand.
Yeah.
That.
So you've got to read it to understand.
So just a pretty place, but with nice things in it. It's all set around Christmas time actually.
Right.
So the story starts on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they're getting ready to go to the most famous party of the year, which is at Leonardo and Pearl's house. So things like the way the Christmas decorations are all out and
I noticed at the beginning describing the Christmas tree and things like that. So
so the whole book is actually literally just Christmas Eve up to about the week of New Year.
Okay, so very short.
And that's the time we're dealing with, and a lot's going to happen.
Right,
that time.
okay.
A lot does happen.
So who would you say was your favourite? I mean, you've talked about Ali. I don't know why she happened to come to mind.
Yeah, she's quite a strong character.
Okay.
She's a strong character. My favourite character is probably Leonardo.
Okay.
He is half Italian and has a lot of money.
Right, okay.
And
Good combo really then.
yeah, has a lot of money and knows good things.
Can I just ask then with Leonardo who he was sort of based on? You said about the celebrity thing.
George Clooney.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
That's
that
really
was
interesting.
in my head.
Right, okay. So
yeah.
that sort of age?
Yeah.
No idea how old
Yeah.
George Clooney is. I think he's a tad older than me, but
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it will explain all the ages of everybody
Right,
as well.
okay. Interesting.
So he's probably my favourite character
Because?
because he's well liked, well known, but there's a side to him.
Right, okay. So you're going to have to read the book to find out what the song
Yeah, I
is.
don't want to give too much away.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important. It's just to sort of obviously get people to think about it.
But to give you a little bit on him, he's married to Pearl, who's older than him, so he's a good 10 years younger than her, and they've not been able to have children.
Right, okay.
But they have got a daughter
Okay.
called Gracie, so there's a bit of a story there.
Right, okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
a lot happens.
Okay.
A lot
And it was
happens.
written by all of you together, so you all had
All
your
of us
input.
together.
Okay.
Yeah. At the end of the book, there's a suggested playlist as well. So a bit like with your 50 Shades of Grey films and everything, you've got your playlists. We really thought about the music with
Okay.
all the characters. And if you read the book and then look at the song list at the back, you'll understand why we've picked those songs.
Right.
So
Okay.
the playlist it's actually a really good playlist. Actually, I think you'll enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's at the back as well.
Makes it again. See, it feels like it comes more alive. I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Brilliant. So, I know we've only got a few minutes left, so I was just intrigued because you've loved it all so much, all of you, that you're going to be doing a sequel.
There's a second one.
So you've got to hurry up and read the Lockdown Gate.
Yeah.
So what are you going to call, or do you have a name for the second
It
one?
will
or
still
is
be
it
Lockdown Gate, but it will have something else after it.
Right. Okay.
But we're introducing more places into Lockdown Gate, and that's where Ruby Lala's coming in.
Yes, I was very flattered that you suggested
Yeah.
using Ruby.
Well,
Did you just love the experience here?
I
and
love it
just,
here. I love everything about it. I like the atmosphere. I love the clothes. I think all your staff are so friendly.
I'm very fortunate.
Yeah, it's just beautiful, and it's in my head. It's
fits
like
in.
in Lockdown Gate.
Right. Okay.
So we've sort of lived this book, and this is part of it now.
Right.
So we would like to use Ruby Lala
Oh, that's really lovely.
in the second book.
Excellent. Excellent.
Obviously, lots of things will be happening in this shop.
Lots of things happen in this
Lots
shop,
of
I tell you.
things.
Do you know, it's interesting because we do hear so much about people's lives. I mean, that's why I think I did an interview a couple of weeks ago, and if people have watched that, you'll know that I have no retail experience, no fashion experience or anything. But I love people. I love to talk to people. And some of the things I hear in here, some things are sad, some things are really happy. Just hearing about people's lives, it's just really, really interesting.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just think you do hear lots of things that go on. I think the staff are pretty boring. We just come to work because we're more interested in the customers. So I don't think we never really get to, I mean, I try to do some things where we go out for dinner and things like that, and some what is called team building, just to get together, because I think it's important to do that socially. But because of lockdowns, you know, Ruby Lala's only 2 years old. We've been closed for half of it. So we've done it once or twice. We did it at the first Christmas we opened. We took all the staff and had a Christmas party, because I really believe in rewarding and bonding. But yeah, sort of I suppose we have customers that come in. You know, we've got a lovely lady who lives locally, Scottish lady, and she comes in 2 or 3 times a week. You know, she's in for 10 minutes, has a chat. That's what it's all about for me.
It's the feeling you get in a place, isn't it? And that's
Yeah.
what we tried to put in the book with the places. They've all got these amazing feelings, and that's what you get in here actually.
Yeah.
It's that warm, inviting feeling.
So I'll be very intrigued as to how you then interpret that and transfer it into the book. You know, because I am very much for feedback. I'm always asking customers and things for feedback, because constructive feedback I feel is very valuable. But yeah, I'd be interested to read your perception. But I guess, I mean, though your sister, I mean, I don't think I've ever met your mum,
No.
and I've never met Rachel. I feel like I know Amanda because I spent about 2 hours on the phone to her in that lockdown. You know, she rang up, she ordered something online, and we ended up talking for ages and ages. So I feel like I really know her, and yet I've never actually physically met her. So I guess it's going to be down to you.
Yeah, to take
To
on
use your
really
experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be really, really
I will
interesting.
bring my mum over. I will bring my
Yeah,
mum.
it'd be lovely to meet
Because they're desperate. All of them are desperate to
Yeah,
come over.
yeah.
In fact, when we were in lockdown, and I said, "Oh, I'm going shopping now," and we just had a catch up, and they said, "What do you mean you're going shopping? Everywhere's shut." I said, "Well, I'm just going to have a virtual shop around Ruby Lala's, and
video
Amanda's
call with
phoning me in a minute, and I'm
remember
buying
that.
some socks."
I remember that, and I was able to show you all the colours and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
And it was brilliant,
Yeah.
and that's what we needed through lockdown.
Yeah.
It was all those sort of things that I think were really, really
Yeah.
needed.
It's like we actually carried on doing it, and purely because I'm not so sure we particularly need it with the sales, but we've been doing the lives, Facebook lives, and it was such a connection for me during lockdown to have that connection still with customers. And so many customers I was aware of were on there. We've just had Mental Health Awareness Month in May, and there were so many lovely customers that I'm aware of on their own. And it was just my way of connecting with people. And sometimes I feel like, you know, somebody messaged me, said, you know, I have your live on my TV, and it's like you're in the room, Amanda. And that's what I felt with the customers when I do a live.
It's really
So it's not
needed.
about necessarily selling. This is what I mean. I'm not a very good businesswoman. It's not necessarily about selling stuff for me. It is about making that connection. I don't think we do that enough.
Well, we started a Facebook page and an Instagram page for the book, but it's turned into a page really to make people feel good, actually, because we've got something set for every day of the week, in the hope that if we can reach out to some people, one person a week, that they look at that post that's a motivational post, and it makes them feel good, then we've achieved something. And we have achieved something through lockdown. We've come out with a book, and we want to sort of keep it going, and of course now I want another book. So.
Well, congratulations, Becky. It's a
Thank
fantastic book. I read it in the garden over the bank holiday weekend. So my pages have been flicked through. I feel very privileged to have a hard copy, knowing how much they cost. But yes, like Becky says, you can download it from Amazon, and I highly recommend it. Will you come back and talk to us about book 2 once you get it published?
Yes, I'd love to.
Right, okay, well, congratulations
Thank
to all
you.
4 of you. Fantastic achievement, and anything's possible. So thank you very much for joining us, Becky. Thank you.